Right now at 10, evacuations are underway in Columbus due to flooding on the Crawfish River. We'll have live coverage. And Supreme Court candidates go head-to-head in a debate tonight. We'll tell you what issues they are discussing, plus how a fancy fundraiser is helping support local animals that do not yet have a home.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 10.
Thanks for joining us. Charlotte is off tonight. Governor Tony Evers has issued a state of emergency due to flooding caused by rapid snowmelt and rain. Melting snow and rain continue to cause flooding across much of southern Wisconsin. Our Adam Duxter is in Columbus, where conditions there have forced people to evacuate. Adam?
Well, Eric, I'm at the Crawfish River, where flooding today has forced this portion of the James Street Bridge to close and has also forced dozens of people out of their homes tonight. It's the worst flooding most in Columbus have seen in nearly a decade.
It's been tough. Yes, it has.
The Crawfish River continuing to flood, up 5 feet in just 48 hours, closing roads, forcing power outages, and leading the city to call those living nearby to evacuate.
It's just trying to ensure that we can maintain safety to the best of our ability to the people we have here in the community. Doing our best to preserve property.
The Dodge County Emergency Response Team bringing in the heavy machinery to make sure everyone made it out safe, with crews going back and forth on Friday to make sure each person who needed to make it to higher ground did.
We had a knock on the door from a lady from the DPW, and she said that we had to make a decision right then if we're going to evacuate or not.
Mark Pifferone and his brother Paul forced to leave their apartment today. They say the feeling kind of surreal.
In historical years, you always see it, and you see all the flooding, and you don't ever think it can happen to you, and it's like, oh wow, I hope they're okay, whatever. And now you're living it.
But more than anything, they say they're glad they're okay.
It could have been a lot worse. It could have been a hurricane, could have been a tornado, could have been fire. So I think we're sort of fortunate in that sense.
And one silver lining to all this flooding today is that no one was hurt or injured, and they told me that they did not have to make any rescues to anyone stuck in their homes or in their cars. Both Mark and Paul say that they want to thank the first responders who helped them get to safety today.
Adam Duxter live tonight in Columbus. Adam, thank you. DeForest also dealing with power outages and evacuations due to the flooding. It has prompted about a dozen families to evacuate, but this isn't the only area in DeForest with the flooding. The high river levels, the high temperatures, melting snow, and frozen ground, clogged storm sewers, all creating widespread flooding for families in areas that aren't even near bodies of water.
The furnace is ruined, the water heater's ruined, the
washer, dryer, freezer.
Everything that's down there is destroyed. We can't, our gas is shut off, our power's shut off until we get those things fixed. We got to clean up before we can do that. So I don't know, I guess we just keep moving forward.
Despite all of the flooding, there are no injuries to report, but of course there is a lot of damage, and many families don't carry flood insurance like the Naumans because they don't live in a floodplain. The Pecatonica River down in Darlington has started to go down now. The Darlington PD says the river crested at about 17.5 feet and has been slowly receding since then by about 3/4 of an inch per hour. The city of Darlington says that State Highways 81 and 23 in Darlington are now open, and so is the Main Street Bridge. There are still plenty of roads closed all across the area due to the high water. In Adams County, parts of State Highways 13, 21, and 82 are closed. In Columbia County, Highway 188 near Lodi remains closed. In Dodge County, Highway 60 closed in both directions. That is just a few of the roads that have been closed. For a full list, go to channel3000.com. Let's head over to meteorologist Dave Caulfield now for the latest on what the weather will do now and on into the weekend, Dave.
Well, Eric, the good news is the weather is expected to be quiet as we head into the rest of this weekend, giving some of those rivers a chance to kind of subside and the flooding to subside in some spots. There are other rivers that are going to crest this weekend, though, so we'll still have to wait quite a bit of time for the situation to resolve itself. Doppler track showing a few snow showers that came through southern Wisconsin this evening. I think think that activity is winding down. Don't be surprised if we see maybe a few more snowflakes over the next hour or so. Platteville on our Queen Bee Radio Skycam looking at partly cloudy skies. Temperatures are in the lower 30s right now across southern Wisconsin, and that wind is starting to dwindle a little bit as well, but it still does make the wind chills feel like the lower 20s and mid-20s across southern Wisconsin. So temperatures will continue to fall through the 30s into the lower 20s to start off Saturday. Should have plenty of sunshine on Saturday, which is good news, even though temperatures will be a little bit chillier than normal for this time of year. I'll tell you how long the dry weather will last and when some slightly warmer temperatures return to the forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Dave, thank you. Madison police are hoping the public can help identify the unresponsive man found in Lake Mendota. Emergency crews and police were called around 6 this morning after a bystander discovered the man floating in the waters of Lake Mendota near Lake Street. He was then taken to a hospital. The man, who appears to be in his early 20s, is described as white, about 6 feet tall, with a slender to average build, 20 to 25 years old with dark, short hair that is a bit longer on top. Officials say there are no signs of foul play. Milwaukee's police chief says authorities are asking for help from the entire nation now to help find a missing 2-year-old girl after a man was arrested on suspicion of killing her mother. Chief Alfonso Morales says Darius Higgins has been providing police with information on the whereabouts of his daughter, Noelani Robinson, but it has proven to be untrue so far. Higgins is accused of fatally shooting Sierra Robinson, the girl's mother, and wounding one of her friends on Monday. Police arrested him Wednesday. Prosecutors have charged him with first-degree intentional homicide and first-degree recklessly endangering safety. The White controversy over a physical altercation involving an 11-year-old student has now resigned. Makia Price said her daughter's braids were ripped out by Rob Muller Owens during an altercation in the hallway in February. The police report shows differing accounts of what happened on the day of that altercation, including witness reports and statements. Dane County District Attorney Ishmael Ozan said he would not be charging Muller Owens. Officials have recovered the body of an occupant who was found after a house fire in the town of Baraboo. Crews were called to a house fire on Terrytown Road. This was about 7:15 this morning. They couldn't tell us how many people live in the single-family home, but they say there were people inside at the time of that fire. By around 8, about 30 firefighters from area departments were able to extinguish the flames, but with the house at the top of a hill, the location and weather made things a bit difficult.
The weather itself, with the thawing temperatures, the ground is soft, and tankers full of water. You figure 8 pounds to the gallon, a 2,500-pound tanker. You try to take that up a driveway that isn't paved, it's going to sink. And so they have to get the water there by hose.
State fire marshals are helping Sauk County and the Baraboo Fire Department with investigations. The Salvation Army is helping out family members who were affected. Tonight, the two candidates for Wisconsin Supreme Court went head-to-head in their first debate. News 3 Now hosted the debate tonight at the State Bar of Wisconsin. Amanda Quintana joins us now with a look at what the candidates had to say. Amanda?
Yes, well, Eric, although this is a nonpartisan position, Judge Brian Hagedorn, who was Governor Walker's chief legal counsel, is more conservative, and Judge Lisa Neubauer is seen as the more liberal candidate. Their ability to be impartial is what this debate really focused on most. Both are currently judges on the state's Court of Appeals, hoping to replace longtime Supreme Court Justice Shirley Abrahamson, who's retiring. A big talker tonight, Hagedorn's blog post from 13 years ago that recently resurfaced, showing his connection to a Christian school that banned LGBTQ teachers and students. But he says his moral and religious views shouldn't matter because they don't affect his decisions.
I am a Christian, and so it's okay to have disagreements about these sorts of questions, but I am deeply dedicated because of that, and just in general, because our Constitution protects it, to protecting the religious freedom of everyone.
The largest chunk of his legal career was as a political operative with the governor, and this race is really about the voters deciding who they trust to be fair, impartial, and independent on our really important highest court of our state.
Judge Neubauer says 98% of endorsing judges support her. Judge Hagedorn says outside money from liberal special interest groups is influencing the race. This is just one of the more talked about races in the spring election on April 2nd. Now, if you missed the stream on Channel 3000 tonight, we will also air the debate Sunday night at 10:30, and that, of course, is right here on News 3 Now.
Just 2 weeks to Election Day from this coming Tuesday. Amanda Quintana reporting. Amanda, thank you. Hundreds of students in Madison are walking out of class, gathering outside the state capitol to protest what they see as a lack of government action to combat climate change.
Despite the president's decision, activists and students around the country, including right here today in Madison, are joining together to demand change. The status quo will not work, and we must take action.
The rally was part of a series of student climate change protests around the world today. 6 months after the workplace shooting at a Middleton software company, now known as Paradigm, the employees are thanking first responders for their life-saving efforts on that September day. We learned today that all 4 shooting victims are back at work in a full-time capacity. Some other employees have chosen not to return. And today, Paradigm honored the 350 first responders who were called to the scene that day with a private ceremony. The responders were presented with small shadow boxes. Each box contains shards of glass left from the Paradigm building.
I hope we say thank you more often than we do as a community. For me, we had a lot of support to make this happen. We had a local company, UPC, which has a relation with one of our employees. They actually volunteered all the materials and the design and the labor for this box.
Employees have been working out of a temporary space while their building undergoes renovations. They plan to return to their original building by the end of the month. Greeted by puppies, kittens, reptiles, even a bird, many turned out to support the Dane County Humane Society tonight. Toto's Gala at Monona Terrace featured a cocktail hour, silent auction, dinner, and stories of animals who have changed people's lives. The annual fundraiser helps support the care of more than 9,000 companion and wild animals that come through the doors at DCHS every year.
Favorite part of the evening really is seeing all of our supporters coming out, being able to connect with them and connect them with the mission and what we're doing at Dane County Humane Society every day.
DCHS has a goal of fundraising $140,000 at tonight's event, which includes the You're Not in Kansas Anymore after party, which ends at 11. With record snowfall this winter, the plows were out a lot, and that was a difficult duty, and in some cases took out a few mailboxes. If your mailbox fell victim to a city plow, the city of Madison will reimburse you up to $75 for repair or replacement. To qualify, reported damaged mailboxes will be inspected by the city and must be found to have been damaged by a city plow driver and meet United States Postal Service mailbox installation regulations.
Never want it to happen at all, and it's really just sort of an unfortunate byproduct of trying to plow those streets as wide as possible to make them safe for all roadway users.
For more information on reporting a damaged mailbox and USPS installation regulations, you can visit our website, channel3000.com. More to come on News 3 Now at 10. Up next, the man accused of shooting and killing 49 people in New Zealand is in court. We'll have the very latest. The main suspect in a pair of deadly attacks on 2 New Zealand mosques made his first court appearance today. Suspect Brenton Tarrant appeared in Christchurch District Court just a few hours ago. The 28-year-old Australian was charged with a single count of murder. He did not enter a plea and was ordered held without bail. The mosques were packed for Friday prayers when the gunman, streaming live on Facebook, opened fire. Authorities have advised all of the country's mosques to remain closed until further notice.
I'm so scared, I knew that, it's maybe one of the safest place to live in, but now I don't know what will happen.
President Trump and other U.S. officials have been in touch with their counterparts in New Zealand. The president offered his condolences and said his administration stands ready to help if needed. President Trump issued the first veto of his presidency today, shooting down a joint resolution that blocks his national emergency declaration along the southern border. That declaration enables him to redirect billions of dollars from the military to build the wall. Congress passed the joint resolution Thursday with a large majority, including 12 Republicans. The president's veto now sends the resolution back to the House. A vote to override is expected later this month. Well, after the melting and the high water levels all around the area, perhaps this weekend we hope a chance to dry out. Dave Caulfield has our forecast.
Yeah, I think that is going to be what happens. And even into next week, we could be looking at some quiet weather. We really do need that. And so far this year, we really haven't had a weekend except for the first one back in January where we've been able to enjoy nice weather. And I think we'll finally get that chance over the next couple of days. We had some nice weather this afternoon, but also a few snow showers, creating this very picturesque photo of Lake Monona. Thank you, Kenton Fowler, for sending this in. The sun sets, and in the background here, we also do have some snow showers falling. I do think a lot of that snow shower activity has wrapped up, although a few snowflakes still remaining in spots. Live look in Madison, I don't see any snowflakes there right now on the Edgewater Skycam. The Capitol, we are looking at mostly clear to partly cloudy skies into the overnight hours. Similar story on the WISC-TV Skycam in Madison. High temperatures today made it into the lower 40s for much of the area, upper 30s in Juneau in Watertown. But overall, this month has been pretty chilly, especially last week at about this time. We were dealing with some very chilly temperatures. The last 3 days, though, have been slightly above normal, and actually yesterday and the day before that, quite a bit above normal when we saw temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Today, a little bit closer to normal with highs in the lower 40s. I mentioned a few snowflakes still outside across southern Wisconsin, but that activity is really winding down. I don't expect really much in the way of snowfall as we head into the next few hours or so. We do still have to deal with flooding into this weekend and possibly even into early next week in spots. We just can't really make the flooding go away, even though we get the nice weather. Unfortunately, I wish that was the case, but luckily we won't be adding to that situation with sunshine expected for Saturday and for portions of Sunday on St. Patty's Day. So temperatures right now are in the lower 30s, actually below freezing in Madison, with a northwesterly wind at about 8 to 15 miles per hour. It does feel a little bit closer to the lower 20s outside. And high temperatures will be rising just in time for the start of spring on Wednesday. Highs will actually be a little bit above normal at that time, and then we'll get back into the 50s for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it does look like by the time we get to the end of this month, temperatures are looking a little bit warmer, as you might expect, because average temperatures are a little bit closer to 50 degrees by the time we get to March 31st. Overnight, temperatures dropping into the lower 20s, colder with decreasing clouds. On future track, we're noticing pretty quiet conditions over the next couple of days, starting off in the lower 20s, highs under plenty of sunshine tomorrow, making it close to 40 degrees. Then some clouds returning for Sunday on St. Patrick's Day. Highs will be once again close to 40 degrees, and I can't rule out maybe a few raindrops or a few snowflakes, but really nothing that we need to concern ourselves with. And we're pretty quiet as we start next week as well. Temperatures closer to 50 by the time we get to Thursday. Our next chance of any significant rain showers or thunderstorms arise by the time we get to next weekend.
Was that last week we were still talking about wind chills and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like early last week?
It seems like forever ago, but yeah, that's
I
was
like
true.
the forecast. I'm ready to be done with all
Exactly.
that. All right, Dave, thank you. Next, we'll have Badger highlights for the Big Ten tourney, and Sun Prairie's quest for a gold ball tips off at the Kohl Center. Highlights from their semifinal matchup. It was a nail-biter ahead in sports.
Well, lots of heart palpitations tonight if you're a Sun Prairie fan. They're making their second straight trip to state to the WIA State Boys Basketball Tournament. Last year didn't end so well. The Cardinals lost to Brookfield Central in overtime in the semifinals. Tonight, they're facing West Allis Central in the semis. Now, head coach Jeff Booza's squad in quite the barn burner tonight. We'll start in the first, though. Anthony Austin to Cooper Nelson. Check this out. Whew, the reverse up and under. Nelson with 10 points. Later, Colin Schaefer passes to Brock Voigt for the bucket. He was solid tonight because later Voigt with the ball again. This time takes it himself, pulls up for the jumper. He and Delaware Hale both leading the team with 14 points each. We needed overtime for this one tonight where free throws really mattered. Sun Prairie hanging on 62-60 the final score in overtime. The Cardinals heading to the Division I state title game for the first time in school history. They'll get another shot at Brookfield Central in the finals tomorrow around 8:35 p.m. One other team from our area left standing in the state tournament as well. Fourth-seeded New Glarus will take on number 2 Lourdes Academy for the gold ball. The Knights, what a story they've had this season. They won their first tournament game since 1932 in the semifinals when they upset defending champion Ron Colley from Manitowoc. Game time tomorrow will be around 12:45 at the Kohl Center. And earlier today, former Sun Prairie Cardinal Jalen Johnson and Nicolay reaching the Division II final with a 70-46 win over Elkhorn. Johnson had 16 points and 11 rebounds, and a lot of people feeling like Nicolay is the best team in the state in any division. Well, we'll see that tomorrow when they're in action against Milwaukee Washington for the state title game. Milwaukee Washington beat La Crosse Central in overtime in the semifinals. Finally, game day for the Badgers after being spectators for the first 2 rounds. Fourth-seeded Wisconsin finally getting its shot in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament today against the Cinderella squad this year, 13th-seeded Nebraska, who is playing their 3rd game in 3 days today and with only 7 players in their rotation. The Badgers came out red hot, though. Khalil Iverson scoring the first 4 points as the Badgers jumped out to an 8-0 lead. But as we've seen a lot this season, Nebraska hanging around because the Badgers let them. They committed a lot of turnovers, some of them not very pretty at all. 17 total for Wisconsin in the game. Nebraska had a 46-45 lead in the second half, but the Badgers pulling out of it. Nate Reavers banks the 3. The Badgers taking the lead back. Then they needed one more big one late, and Demetric Trice giving it to them. That 3 clinching a hard-fought win, and head coach Greg Gard knew it wasn't the prettiest, but hey, a win is a win.
Knowing that Nebraska was playing well, we were going to be fighting against that momentum and emotional push that they had going the last couple days. Nice thing about this is you get a chance to survive, advance, and move on to next, and quickly learn from this, put it behind us.
So 66-62 the final score. Khalil Iverson continuing to play some of his best basketball, by the way, with his mom watching from the stands. He and Nate Reavers both led the Badgers with 14 points each. Now their opponent tomorrow in the semifinals, a Michigan State squad that battled Ohio State earlier today. Second half here, C.J. Jackson to Caleb Wesson 4-3, and the Buckeyes up 2. Later, Matt McQuaid with the ball for the Spartans. He will drive and lay it in quite nicely, and they want to put this one away after that. Later, Cassius Winston, the Big Ten Player of the Year, with the ball. He goes to Aaron Henry. Ooh, the alley-oop slam dunk, and Michigan State beats Ohio State 77-70. This will be the 10th time that Wisconsin and Michigan State have faced each other in the Big Ten tournament. That's the most of any 2 teams in the conference. Finally tonight, how about the Bucks? This is a special for Eric Franke here. Overcoming a 20-point deficit at halftime to come back and win 113-98. Giannis leading the way with 33 points, 16 rebounds. Chris Middleton helping him out with 21. We'll be right back.
All right, here's a look at the 10-day forecast. Temperatures in the upper 30s and low 40s this weekend. Nice weekend overall. A few flurries possible on St. Patty's Day.
Looks good. Thanks for joining us. Badgers, by the way, right here tomorrow against Michigan State at noon. Take care.